Ever noticed how ADHD is portrayed as just fidgety kids or distracted adults? That barely scratches the surface. Like when my friend can code for 8 hours straight, but forgets 3 items at the grocery store. Since 1902, our understanding has evolved from simple behavioral issues to a complex neurological condition, with groundbreaking research in the 1970s revolutionizing our approach. In this video, I'm breaking down why ADHD affects organization, memory, emotions, and more. It's an entire interconnected system. If you've ever wondered why someone can focus intensely on video games yet struggles with homework, you're about to discover the fascinating science behind this misunderstood condition. What if I told you ADHD isn't just about not being able to sit still? The truth about what's happening in the brain is much more fascinating. When we look at ADHD through a neurological lens, we're not talking about a simple on-off switch for attention. We're looking at an intricate communication network that functions differently. Think of your brain as a bustling metropolis with over 100 billion neuronal citizens, all constantly sending messages to each other. These messages don't travel directly from one neuron to another. They have to cross tiny gaps called synapses. In ADHD brains, the chemical messengers that bridge these gaps, neurotransmitters like dopamine and norepinephrine, aren't being released and reloaded in the typical pattern. Just as a city suffers when its communication lines falter, so does the brain when neurotransmitter signaling is disrupted. You know that feeling when you're trying to have an important phone conversation, but the signal keeps cutting out? That's similar to what's happening in an ADHD brain. Information that should be crystal clear becomes fragmented, making it incredibly difficult to maintain consistent focus. This is about a cellular communication system functioning differently at its most fundamental level. This explains one of the most misunderstood aspects of ADHD, why someone can focus intensely on video games for hours but struggle to complete a simple homework assignment. It's neither laziness nor defiance. The ADHD brain responds differently to interest, novelty, challenge, and urgency. Activities that trigger the release of those crucial neurotransmitters, like fast-paced, visually stimulating games with immediate feedback, can temporarily bridge those communication gaps, while tasks without these built-in neurochemical rewards become significantly more challenging. The neurotransmitter differences in ADHD affect multiple brain networks simultaneously. Attention, executive functions like planning, organizing, and emotional regulation. When someone says, "just try harder," they're essentially asking someone to rewire their neuronal communication system through sheer willpower, an impossible task. It would be like asking someone with poor eyesight to see clearly without glasses. We all experience difficulty focusing sometimes, but ADHD exists on a spectrum, similar to depression. The difference lies in the persistence and pervasiveness of these challenges. For someone with ADHD, these aren't occasional difficulties, but consistent patterns that impact multiple areas of life daily. The brain's prefrontal cortex, our executive control center, relies heavily on these neurotransmitters. Imagine an air traffic controller receiving intermittent updates about arriving and departing planes. This is what it feels like for someone with ADHD trying to manage their daily responsibilities. Without reliable information flow, even routine tasks become overwhelming challenges. These neurological differences create what scientists call variable performance. Someone might complete a task flawlessly on Monday, but struggle with identical work on Tuesday. Studies show that this day-to-day inconsistency affects up to 80% of individuals with ADHD, often being misinterpreted as lack of effort or commitment. The neurochemical imbalances create a cascade of connected challenges. Memory systems become less reliable because encoding signals are inconsistent. Time perception becomes distorted because the brain's internal clock depends on steady neurotransmitter function. Even sleep regulation can be affected, explaining why many people with ADHD struggle with consistent sleep patterns. Modern brain imaging has confirmed what people with ADHD have been trying to explain. Their brains are working differently at a fundamental level, driven by neurobiology rather than personal choice. Those neurobiological differences create ripple effects far beyond attention alone. Imagine forgetting what you went into a room for, not just occasionally, but dozens of times daily. Then multiply that by forgetting appointments, deadlines, and conversations. This working memory challenge alone can transform someone's life, making them appear disorganized or uncaring when they're actually fighting an invisible battle with their brain's filing system. What most people don't see is how these challenges interlock and amplify each other. Think of ADHD as a complex ecosystem rather than a single problem. When one aspect is affected, it creates a domino effect that touches nearly every part of daily functioning. Take time management. The working memory difficulties that characterize ADHD make keeping track of deadlines extraordinarily difficult. Forgetting an appointment leads to arriving late to work, which creates tension with supervisors, which then generates anxiety that disrupts the remainder of the day's tasks, each consequence toppling into the next like a row of falling dominoes. This creates a constant sense of being overwhelmed, as if you're perpetually running late for something important but can't quite remember what it is. Picture Sarah, who starts her morning intending to organize her workspace. She picks up a file that needs attention, but while reviewing it, notices an unrelated email notification. When she returns to her desk after responding, she discovers dozens of files spread across her workspace, having forgotten her original organizing mission entirely. What should be a straightforward task becomes an exercise in mental exhaustion. What surprises many people is the emotional regulation component. ADHD affects how intensely emotions are experienced and processed. When cognitive systems are already overtaxed by organizational demands, emotional control becomes particularly difficult. Someone might become disproportionately upset by a minor frustration, like a loud chewing sound triggering intense anger, or a small critique sparking overwhelming hurt feelings. These emotional responses are neurologically driven reactions that can consume thoughts and derail focus. These interconnected challenges often create distinctive patterns in how tasks are approached. Many with ADHD describe themselves as great sprinters, but lousy distance runners. Imagine a track star who bursts with explosive speed over short distances, but struggles when the race requires endurance, perfectly capturing how someone can perform brilliantly under pressure yet struggle with consistent daily effort. This creates a cycle of procrastination, followed by last-minute rushes of productivity. Writing tasks perfectly illustrate this interconnectedness. Creating a coherent document requires organizing thoughts, maintaining focus long enough to generate complete paragraphs, and managing time to meet deadlines. For someone with ADHD, this seemingly simple process can become extraordinarily difficult. Ideas might come easily, but translating them into structured written form feels like trying to capture smoke with your hands. What's particularly frustrating is how these challenges can fluctuate from day to day. The same person who delivered a brilliant presentation yesterday might struggle to compose a simple email today. This variability often leads others to misinterpret the inconsistency as laziness or lack of commitment, when it's actually the neurobiological system functioning differently from moment to moment. So, where does all this leave us? When we understand ADHD as this complex web of interconnected challenges, our entire approach to treatment transforms. Effective support requires a comprehensive strategy addressing multiple dimensions simultaneously. Because these challenges are interconnected, our interventions must be too. This means combining medication to balance brain chemicals with skill building in organization and emotional regulation, alongside environmental modifications like structured routines. This holistic approach transforms outdated stereotypes into understanding that embraces the whole person. ADHD affects virtually every aspect of someone's life. If someone you care about has ADHD, sharing this deeper understanding could be the most supportive action you take today.